This episode of Oceania is brought to you by Squarespace. Visit squarespace.com/20 to get 10% off your very first purchase. G'day guys, Chills20 here. Welcome back to Oceania. It's been a little while since we've done a Oceania video. I know a bunch of you guys have been just busting to get back into this. So have I. I've been really keen to get back into it. But yeah, sorry, it's been about a month. And I figured because it's been so long, we should probably do something that I think a lot of you guys are going to be pretty keen about. I know that a lot of people have been asking, when am I going to get to some sort of stadium or Olympic park, or even extending out a little bit more of the public transport? Well, we're going to be doing all those things in this episode. We're going to be doing the Olympic Park, stadiums, and then I'm hoping in the live play at the midpoint of this episode, we're going to be doing, I don't know, potentially like just trying to get the public transport working for this, because I think having, 3 different stadiums in this area, 3 different events, we're going to get just a ridiculous amount of people coming here, which means we're going to need to make sure that infrastructure is pretty solid. And I'm not really going to do a huge amount of that sort of infrastructure in the time lapse. I'm going to save that for mostly the live play. However, I did place down that stadium right there. That one's made by, well, actually they're both made by Bad Peanut, but he's created this one a couple of years ago. I've been just eyeing it off for quite a while, and there's actually a train station attached to that. Now I've got some plans for that, so just stay tuned. We're going to be just making some adjustments to that train station. I think it's going to work really well. But yeah, basically this episode, so we are creating an Olympic park. I really wanted to create one of these scenes as Australia has hosted the Olympics a couple of times, and we're also due to host it once again up in Brisbane in 2032, I think. But probably one of the greatest memories for me living in Sydney was hosting the 2000 Olympics. I mean, I didn't personally host it, but kind of felt like it when your home city hosts the Olympics for something that is so important. Being the year 2000 Olympics was pretty special, so pretty like massive buzz around that time. But I do also really like the assets, or even like the ability to create big parks like this within City Skylines. I've always really enjoyed creating massive parks, and these events are also really cool that every now and again you just get a huge amount, and I mean a huge amount of people flocking to one area of your city, and I think it's such a cool pressure test for your infrastructure. So I'm actually just really excited to get into that and see how that works. Plus, I also just wanted to build something really big in Oceania. Since we haven't done this for a while, I wanted to do something pretty significant, something that was going to take up a fair amount of space. So basically what we've been up to is I've just been figuring out the general layout of this, and it's going to change a little bit. I definitely have not set anything in stone. And I guess my rule of thumb is always place the biggest things first and then figure out your road layout, or maybe your road layout and big things at that stage, and then you kind of just start placing things around. So that's why we started with 2 big stadiums. We've got both of them, again, made by Bad Peanut. The first one that you can see that I'm working on at the moment, this one is an older asset. It's made, originally he made it for Match Day, which I saw him create, and I was like, okay, cool, I'm totally gonna use that. Never got around to using it. And then he updated it for the Campus DLC, and again, I was like, I'm gonna get it. Didn't use it, and now we'll finally get into it. Because it was made originally for Match Day, the soccer field is probably disproportionate to, I guess, the other stadiums within the city, or even within City Skylines. But I think that the amount of stuff around it, and even the stadium itself, I think is just too cool of a thing to pass up on, because I think the added addition of the train station, I think even all these buildings and just everything, even that like massive grass field, I think is really cool. And then the other stadium that I placed down is an AFL stadium, and if you don't know what AFL is, that's totally fine, because it is kind of a weird sport that Australia has made up. AFL stands for Australian Football League, and I guess it's sort of similar to rugby, and takes inspiration from other different sports. It's a bit different, it's a bit out there, but it's pretty cool that it's Australian. So I figured I had to place that down, even though AFL is more like, it's probably bigger in other states than it is in, all around Australia. Like, it's not massive in New South Wales, but it is pretty massive in Victoria. But I figured being an Australian sport, had to place down a stadium like that. And then the last one that I'll end up placing down is a tennis stadium, which is another one that's from Australia, like an actual stadium from Australia, which we'll look at when I get to it. But at the moment, we've been doing a couple of things. So far, I've just been figuring out the general layout for this area, got the main road going in, the main avenue, and we'll stretch it out just a little bit further. And then I wanted the entrance to be, a bit more public space filled with ovals and fields for people just to use, not just, for massive sporting events or anything like that. And I decided just to put a grass field by using this decal that's been on the workshop for maybe, I'm going to say 2016, 17. So it's an old asset, this stripy field. So it's probably could be going in the other direction, but I kind of, by sinking into the ground, just a smidge, it does make the grass look just a bit more vibrant. Definitely has a difference between that grass and then other areas of the city. So that's why I've done that, just sinking it into the ground a little bit. And then I'm using this one over here. This one's going to be another AFL field. But again, we are doing this for the public. This is definitely something that I reckon schools would use, or, maybe just some smaller leagues of players. Just some public space. Kind of nice having that right next to big stadiums. Something I noticed around a lot of the Olympic parks around Australia, looking down at Melbourne and looking at Sydney Olympic Park. It's always cool seeing these sort of fields. And I've been taking a lot of inspiration from a couple more of these places as we go along in the time lapse. But tell you what, do not look at this oval if you are, if you get a little bit triggered by imperfection or non-symmetrical things, because this is imperfect. I just, if I've learned anything from Mile Bay, you just, sometimes you're just going to build something and just move on, just got to move on. Otherwise, you just don't get anything done. I've been working on Oceania for, a while now, and we're only really kind of like just chipping away at, bits and pieces. I definitely need to get a wriggle on. It's definitely, I've learned a lot from Mile Bay. Maybe we'll talk a bit more about that later on, if you want to hear me rant about, I don't know, just the challenges and benefits of detailing and not detailing places and trying to find the perfect balance. Haven't worked it out yet, but I feel like, maybe 6 years down the track of playing City Skylines, maybe I'm getting there. Maybe I'm figuring out the balance that I think is the best. But I wanted to place that oval there mostly because the train line that stretches through this Olympic Park makes a really nice oval, or I guess makes a nice arch that I thought the oval could kind of be influenced by, and I think it kind of does. But basically that train line is for the metro, and we did speak about this when we did create the metro line last episode. But we've extended it out, and there's actually room to continue extending it out. So maybe we continue it, but I also sort of think that this really does feel like the end of the line. This is the sort of station where you'd see a lot of people get off when there's an event, but then probably nobody will get off when there's no event, because otherwise there's nothing else really here. So it's probably one of those stations that might even bypassed, or might even be bypassed, some, like, the majority of the time, but then actually stops there when there's an event on. What we're doing now is just figuring out the layout for these areas, these other stadiums. Now we've got that massive one, which is pretty much in its spot now. I'm happy where it goes. It's a bit tricky with that mountain, trying to get a nice flat area. You can see the real struggle that I'm encountering. And then we've got this smaller stadium. This is a tennis stadium, and I believe it's the Rod Laver Stadium down in Melbourne. You might just stick it up on, you might be looking at it right now. That would be a smart option. But there it is. I've decided to use that one because it is, again, Australian, and I thought that it'd be good to have a bit of a mix of sports, and it works pretty well. I mean, it's a really old asset, but it works very nicely. Now, something to note, which was a bit of a hidden struggle of mine while building this, you probably, maybe it's something that you're noticing, or maybe it's something that's, I don't know, maybe it's just gone unnoticed. That's the other word I'm looking for. But basically, building places like this are always difficult because an Olympic Park wouldn't ever really just have the 3 stadiums. Olympic parks have multiple stadiums. They have lots of different sporting areas. and lots of different facilities, and then a whole back area full of, you know, warehouses and admin sort of stuff, and huge amounts of parking and plazas. There's a lot that goes into here. Now, because we're playing City Skylines, and because I'm trying to scale everything down, you know, everything is a smaller version of it, what it would really look like in real life. It's always hard to build places like this because in your head you're like, okay, that wouldn't be a realistic stadium or realistic Olympic Park because it doesn't have this, 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 and this. Whereas you can get away with doing things like this, or you can get away with building places in City Skylines when, you know, something like a downtown where you can build, you know, a couple of skyscrapers and it still looks like a downtown because a lot of downtowns just only have a couple of skyscrapers. Or if you build a harbor, you know, you can build a couple of cranes and that's all you really need. Or, you know, schools or infrastructure, that's sort of stuff you can get away with. But places like this, they feel weird because there's not enough of the thing that they really need the most of, if that makes sense. But yeah, building places like this are always very difficult because you do have an idea of what you need to place down. And then when you try and place down as many of those things within the game, it doesn't work because you don't have enough space. You know, all of a sudden this Olympic Park is the size of your city. You know, it's the same when you build airports within City Skylines. You're going to scale that thing down. Otherwise it's going to take up the entire space of the map. Look at the project that Bisquigglehouse and Fluxtrans and Strictosa did. You need the entire map to make something like that realistic. So you can't do that. So this is definitely a scaled down version. So you're probably thinking, you don't have this, you don't have that. Yeah, I don't have a lot of different things that we definitely need, but I think you just gotta make it work. And you know what? I also like that. You know, I like that we're not going to ever have enough room to build all those things. And I think that's always the fun thing about playing this game is trying to make it work, trying to get the essence of a place and still make it, you know, so that you can still look down and go, oh, hey, that's totally an airport. That's an Olympic Park because it has this feature and that feature and you've included this. You know, scaling things down like this and trying to make it work within the constraints of a game like this. I'm saying the word this a lot. I'm aware of that. You don't need to write it in the comments. But I just think the limitations can sometimes force you, not sometimes, definitely forces you to be more creative. And that's why I'm always somewhat disappointed when I have a game that gives you infinite amounts of tools and infinite amount of scale and possibilities. Then I kind of go, I don't really know what to do because nothing's restricting me and nothing's making it difficult. And I think that's why I like playing with money enabled and milestones enabled within Mile Bay, and it's kind of changed the way that I wanted to play the game. And even jumping back into Oceania and, you know, just seeing that I've got infinite money and you know, obviously not making any money at the moment and I've got everything unlocked. I don't know, it's honestly a little bit unmotivating. I kind of like the restrictions. Mind you, I'm very much invested in building this because I am so curious to see whether all this stuff that I'm building is even going to work when I unpause the game, which by the way, I've kept it paused the entire time. Unpause the game and try and make this thing work, try and make events work, because I have a feeling it might not, and we're gonna have to do some work. But anyway, I've just unfortunately rambled when I could have been talking about some interesting thing that I am doing on screen, because I've done a couple of things. I might have to mention that in the live play. The problem is I've made my time lapses a bit shorter, and I'm also only recording the bits that you want to see, not the bits where I'm just scrolling through Finder trying to find the things that I want to use or anything I think is particularly boring. It's definitely making time lapses a lot shorter, so I've got less time to ramble like I usually do. But that's okay, I will ramble in the live play. Just quickly though, where's the parking, I hear you asking? See that area, that dirty area down there where there's some cars? That's actually a parking lot. I got the inspiration from down at Melbourne Park. There's this big grassy area and I was like, that's a nice little playing field. It's not, it's actually parking. And then I guess when people aren't parking there for an event, it's just a nice green area. And I was like, you know what, that's a really smart place to put parking. And I don't know if you noticed, but I did hide some parking underneath some ploppable grass. Just a little sneaky thing there. Don't tell anyone. But if you are interested in telling people about something, why not tell them about the world-class website building tools over at Squarespace? Here, I'll even tell you what you can say. Building a sleek and stylish website couldn't be easier. Squarespace offers best-in-class templates to fill that website-sized hole in your life. Simply browse the entertainment category to find the perfect starting place, and then you can customize that bad boy into the website of your dreams. It's super easy to do with Squarespace's editing tools that even a dummy like me can put one together. For me, it's nice knowing that I can update my website hassle-free. Uploading videos, images, and channel updates is quick and easy and goes live instantly. Squarespace even makes it fit all nice and snug on your website without you having to worry about formatting or coding or whatever else real website designers have to do. If you're selling products such as artworks or merch, Squarespace has you covered with super useful e-commerce tools that can help you manage inventory, promote products, streamline bookkeeping, and ship items across the globe. So with all that said, if you've been thinking about getting yourself a website, then I can't recommend Squarespace enough. And of course, don't pay full price, you dummy. Get 10% off your site with codename $2.20. I know I did when I first signed up, except it wasn't $2.20, it was some other YouTuber. Big thanks to Squarespace for sponsoring today's video. Let's get into the live play and see how we go at making this thing actually work. All right, here we are. Let's have a little look around and see how everything's running. We've got a couple of gameplay things I want to start placing down, including some parks and some extra events. In fact, I'm just going to put it on pause just quickly because I do want to see when our match is going to start. Okay, cool. So we've got pretty much a full year until that's going to happen. And this one is, okay, great. The exact same day. Fantastic. So that's going to be pretty epic when those events happen. Now, this guy down here, our tennis arena, doesn't actually have an event, which, I mean, is probably good for traffic and our infrastructure, but I kind of want to have an event down here. So I'm just going to sneak in an aquatic center. Now, I do want to place it on the road, but I don't really want to see this box. So how about we do something a bit sneaky and see if we can hide it in one of these places. How about I get rid of this planter here? We'll get rid of this guy that's just in a little strange location. We'll plop that down. When is that even going to happen? 21st. Okay, cool. So I don't... Oh, that's just... Okay, that's not too far away. So that'll be our first event, our first test, and then we'll have our epic test a little later on. But I do want to cover this up. So let's see if I can find a prop that'll cover that up pretty nicely. I've actually got the best idea. I'm going to put a burger joint here, but not any burger joint. It says Cranburger. Alright, I don't really want Cranburger. In fact, I would like it to be one of our custom stores. I wanted it to be a Bruce Burger. Unfortunately, Cranburger's still there because I forgot to remove the props in Prop Remover. I think it's the logos that's still there. That's okay, I have changed it, so they'll disappear as soon as I restart the game. But for the time being, let's just turn this into a Bruce Burger, because I think this would be a good spot for a Bruce Burger. There we go. Awesome. Unfortunately, those Cranburgers are there, but they'll disappear. Now, let's give it some seating. I reckon this would be a good spot for some seating, and then we'll unpause it and see what else is going on. There we go. Even put in a little playground just in there. Kind of fun. So we've got a pretty high capacity Bruce Burger now placed in there. There is a couple of things we can start with. So let's get our metro to actually stop at this station. Now, before I do that, there is a couple of things that I need to do with our actual station, because this is actually a train station. I need to make sure that my metro will stop there. So this network is a station, but I just need to make sure that it's in the right place. So I might just drag this guy like that, and then we'll pull this guy down like this. There we go. Now I think that should just be the only station nestled in there. Cool, all right. Hopefully that's going to work. Hopefully people will actually use this stop. I haven't tested it yet, so that's going to be our next challenge. So let's have a look. I believe it's the blue line that we need to work on. Yeah, it is that one. So I'm actually just going to extend it out. I'm not going to drag a new network. I think we can just add an extra stop. And do I really want to... I guess we don't really need that stop just there. I guess we can just leave it as it is. Look, there he is. There's the train. And then I guess we can see if we do need to make another one. Oh, here we go. Okay, so the event is starting to begin. So I guess this will be the real test. We'll see if this is going to start to hold up. But I believe we're probably going to need to have a bus line out this way as well, because I think that's probably just going to help with a bit of the flow. Now, while we're waiting for people to turn up and come into our stadium, I want to add just a couple of extra parks, because these are technically parks that I want people to come and visit. I want them to be creating a bit of better land value around here, which is something that we're going to need. So I'm going to use these little boxes, and I think this is probably the perfect spot to put it. Just poking out. Ah, not really. Cool. I'm gonna put another one just in here. And I think this one will be safe enough if I just drag it inside there. Perfect. And do I really have enough room for around here? Probably not. But maybe I might just add an extra one just in there. Just like that. And I think it's safe enough just to drag it out a smidge. And look at that, we've already got quite a lot of metros coming into this station and people are using it. That is the best thing ever. I'm so surprised that works. I think that is pretty insane, considering we have turned this into a metro line and it's technically not a metro line. So I'm curious to know where these guys are coming out at. You know, are they coming onto the street just here or are they going inside this building? Let's follow this guy. Let's follow Piper. Where does he end up? That is so cool. So this whole building is going to act as the entrance points to that station, which is what I was hoping, which is half the reason why I wanted to place that building down, because I knew that there was going to be some really cool functionality with it. That is really, really cool. So things are starting to come together. There is quite a lot of train movement around here. So we are getting quite a lot of trains coming in and out, which is pretty perfect. And yeah, I mean, we're going to get a bit of a hold up around here, but I think that's totally fine. I can live with that. All right, I've just realized something that I can already start to improve. So basically people, if they're walking to the stadium, they have to pretty much follow this entire pathway. This is the best entrance point, which isn't too bad. I mean, this is the central station, so coming down this way is fine, but there are quite a few streets for them to cross. What we could potentially do is we could have a more direct route so that people don't actually have to cross all the way around here, or even multiple footbridges that get people to the stadiums. So we could potentially have one coming around this way. And, you know, there is something that was just recently built within Sydney. There is this underground walkway from Central Station. Oh, actually, not Central Station. I think it might be Town Hall or Wynyard or something like that. And then it goes all the way underground to all this new development where there's a whole bunch of shopping and there's a casino going in. So they're putting in the infrastructure for foot traffic so that people can actually get from the station pretty easily. So that actually might be kind of fun. Maybe if we do some sort of underground area, potentially here, and then maybe it goes straight to Central Station and then they completely miss all this mess. So why don't we give that a little go? Let's put in some sort of underground walkway. You know what? This whole area is really bothering me. I don't like this step where this highway sits. So I'm just going to do a bit of changes. I'm going to turn all this into underground. I might even make all that underground. So we need some large buildings that are going to sit here. We can't have anything residential because these arenas are super noisy, so I can't have anything like that. So potentially an office block would look pretty good. I mean, we do technically have a university out this way, so we could use some of these university assets. I mean, this would be absolutely perfect. It's just too large. Oh, but that looks so cool. I don't know. Maybe do we use procedural objects and can we make something a little bit more custom? Like, can I squeeze it in here? If I squish the asset a little bit? Oh man, that could work so well. I mean, look at that cool opening just there. And that as a walkway to the arena. And this, oh, okay. Let me just have a little test and see if I can make this work. All right, it worked. It's there. I mean, it's looking a lot better than what was there before. I really didn't like that step down. Put it on pause again because I think we need to do a little bit of work before we can unpause the game. But it's there, it's working. We've even got a little entrance for our highway. I still need to work on it a little bit more. But as I'm looking at it, I actually think I might just drop it down just a smidge because it just seems a little high. I don't want it too high around these areas. So maybe something like... not too high. How does it look from the road? Yeah, I mean, it doesn't need to be like massive from the road. I think that is kind of nice. I've got a bit of an idea for something we could put down here because I know that having a pathway for all the, I guess, Olympic and event stuff that we have around here makes a bit of sense. But I think while there isn't an event on, there would probably be a need for a bit of infrastructure like this. So let's just have a little look at what we could do with a pathway, and then I'll let you in on what I'm considering. So there's our highway, so can't go too close to that one, but that's fine. We don't need a huge amount of clearance for our tunnel. Let's make our tunnel go into the ground like so. And it's going to go all past these areas. And look at that. We've even got a tunnel already down here because this is where our metro is. So if I just connect it like that, I think that pretty much sets up the entire area so that people can access it. They can even go through our metro tunnel to get to this walkway. You know, looking at this path, it's probably just a little bit too small. I wanted it because I liked the rendered tunnel that goes through, but I actually have an idea. Because if I use something like this path, which is a little bit thicker, yeah, that's what I'm thinking. So we could still have that rendered tunnel, but I think we could probably make something a bit more custom using some retaining walls. So let's give that a little shot. And then look, for this part, I'm just gonna keep it pretty simple because otherwise I'm probably gonna be here all day detailing this thing because I'm already getting really carried away. Alright, that was my plan. I've got this little slopey area here. I've even expanded out the network so it's just a bit wider to allow for more people to come through. Down here, I was thinking, why don't we put some shops and make this a bit of maybe like a shopping district, or even in a place where some bars are. I mean, that pretty much fits perfectly right there. And it is about as Australian as it gets in terms of architecture and even being a pub. I'm going to raise that just a smidge. And I'm going to place a couple of buildings and shops around here so that people have got something extra to come visit while there's no events happening, or even events happening. So let's place some of those down and see how it's all looking. Alright, that's it. I'm calling it. That's all I'm doing. This is already starting to just get a little out of control. I really hope people are going to start using this. We've got the walkway. I think people are already going up there. Beautiful. Thank you very much. Even though you didn't really use my ramp, I'll accept it. Why are you guys doing it like that? That's very odd. Alright, regardless. They're making their way up. That's all I am really worried about. I'll see if I can fix the reason why they're just floating up into that ramp. And now our little area has actually got a bit more of extra purpose. People are also coming to this arena too, even though there's not really an event happening. And parking. I mean, people are using our grassy parking area. This is so far the only area that I have zoned for parking. We've just got some, I mean, let me just quickly show you how I do it. I'm just going to copy this guy. Let's say that some people can park over there. It's all weird and crazy, but that's fine because I'm just going to grab some grass and I'll cover it up like so. And how cool is that? And people will just go and park there. So that's my grassy parking area. I'm kind of a bit over doing parking lots at the moment. Maybe a little bit of Marl Bay has made me a little less interested in creating big parking areas because I'm doing less detail over there. So yeah, I think that's going to be a nice little thing that I'm going to start doing. So people are starting to come to this event. Awesome. People are using our metro line, which is great. And I guess we'll just wait and see how this is kind of working out. Our event is now finished and people are absolutely using this walkway. I mean, this was a great piece of infrastructure I've just placed here. I mean, they are still flying. I'll continue to work on that. I think there's just must be some invisible pathway in there that I need to just fix up. But I mean, how good's that? People are going through here. It's very nice. Oh, they're popping up into the street. Interesting. Maybe I'll create a staircase so that looks a little bit more realistic. There we go. That's better. Little pathway through there. Ignore all this stuff. I mean, I'm kind of just like not in the mood. I'm just not in the mood to do that. I am more in the mood to make sure that we are seeing a bit of flow, a bit of infrastructure working, doing its thing. It is great. So, I mean, that was just one event. The next thing we need to work on is we're going to see This big event, I mean, it's a while away until we get to it. We are still almost a year away. So we're going to fly through a year. I'm going to place in a couple of extra things. You know, I'm just going to do one of those things on camera. There we are. I don't know. Something like that. Kind of interesting. All right, let's blow through a year and then we'll start putting in some bus lines and whatever else we need to sustain 2 events. All right, let's go. Well, hello. Welcome back. It's been about a year, and what are you doing? Dude, come on. It's been about a year, and it's the month before our big events, so, and I actually believe people are starting to, yeah, okay, here they come. So I'm going to put it on pause, because I probably should have done this a month earlier. We're going to put a couple of bits and pieces of infrastructure in because we don't really have a bus service coming out this way. So we do need to put something like that in. So in terms of buses, we do have a pretty good bus line, but I think, you know, I don't know if we really warrant putting some sort of big bus terminal in. I think these are just a little too large for something of this size. So instead, let's put just a couple of lines in. So I think we're just probably going to do a very pretty direct route. So I think the next stop will probably be somewhere around here because I think this will probably be a good spot. There we go. You can go in there. And then I think, how about we drag that network out here? Yeah, we'll put it out here. This is our other bus terminal. So stop there. And then we can come back to Central Station. And then right back there. You know, I think that's fine. And then let's make just one more line. I'm going to make this one go this time to Central Station. And you can stop there. And then maybe even, yeah, maybe even there, I think would be a good spot because fair amount of traffic. And then it can stretch all the way across this bridge and connect up to this pretty busy station. I think do a loop there, turn around, come back around. And then I was also working on some taxis. I put a couple of taxi depots. I'll just built up this area while that year was passing. And I might just place a couple more. I mean, maybe a little bit temporary in this area, but I think we're going to need some taxis coming around, get into these areas. I don't actually have any taxi stands, so I might even put one. Yeah, I mean, right there. We'll put another one around Central. Not Central, Town Hall. There. And then we'll put another taxi stand. You know what, it can just go there. I think that's fine. One last thing. We need just a little bit more parking. I mean, I'm so happy that they are using this really well. I think we can continue doing that method by placing down some more parking lots just by grabbing them like this and placing them in just pretty random locations. Just to show that this is parking and it's a bit of a free-for-all. I'm sure there's some parking officers telling them where to park, but we'll just do a little bit more. Our car park is starting to get pretty full, which means our event is getting pretty close to starting. I say one event, but there are 2 events, 2 stadiums about to be packed out, and I actually believe I did think I saw people going in. So I even think that this one is starting to, yeah, just a month away. So this one's already starting to get prepared for its next event. So we actually have 3 events happening all at once. So should be pretty interesting. Absolutely love seeing this train come through. Something I'm going to change though is the speed limit because I think it's just, yeah, it's just flying through here. Let's try about 50. I think that might be a better speed limit for around here. Yeah, that's a little better. And far out, check out the amount of people using this footbridge. So yeah, I mean, they are just teleporting down there. That's fine. But I'm pretty sure a lot of people are actually using this walkway. If I look underground, yeah, there they are. Fantastic. So yeah, just absolute waves of people coming to the stadium. People standing in the fountain. All right, whatever floats your boat. And looks like a fair amount of people are also catching the bus, which is probably one of the better modes of transport to get to the stadiums. And we're also seeing quite a lot of taxis come in and out. So we have pretty much eliminated people using this walkway to get to this stadium. If you're going to this big AFL stadium, people are most likely using this footbridge, which is kind of cool. And then to get to the other stadium, they're using this footpath, which I don't really mind. So it looks like that soccer match is about to begin, which means that our AFL match is also about to begin. Yeah, okay, so the hordes of people have slowly started to stop as the events have now begun, except for this one, of course. That one's still getting people turning up, but these events are pretty much well on the way as people start to just slowly trickle in from other parts of the city. And actually, looking at the date now, I think this event is probably starting to begin. So just looking at the capacity for these venues, I mean, this one's just over 1,300 and this one's at 1,000. So, I mean, and they're still getting more and more people turning up. When these events finish, I think we're going to see just an absolute horde of people flocking to some of the public transport. So that should be fairly interesting. A bit more of a pressure test to see how all this ends up holding up. Hopefully, not that many people are driving because the road infrastructure is just okay. It's not the best. I think public transport is definitely probably the better mode of transport around here. So we'll just have to wait and see what people end up doing. Okay, and here they come. All those people. Looks like a lot of bike riders. Good on them. That's great. But let's see where most of these people go. I am really hoping for lots of people catching public transport rather than taking their cars. Quite a lot of people at the car park, but we'll just wait and see what ends up happening with that. And this one too, yeah, people are starting to leave. Oh man, I'm surprised my computer's still functioning right now. We've got a lot of people. I'm recording. We've got graphics up pretty high. It's doing alright. I'm quite impressed. It's doing alright. Yeah, as predicted, a lot of people catching the bus. This seems to be one of the most preferred methods of public transport. I do want to see a lot of people going for the metro line too, because that was a pretty, I feel like that's a pretty good network, gets people to some really good spots, but I just think you can't really beat buses in this game. They seem to be doing some of the best jobs at getting people around. And looking around here, probably should, and I'm not going to do it now because I think I'll keep it for another episode, but I think when we do drag out some more bus networks, maybe something around here, that'll help get people from this area. But looking at this, looks like most people are going inside the building and are most probably going to catch the metro, which is great, which is what we want. Yeah, that's doing quite a good job. You know what? I think the reason why people aren't really using the metro who are visiting this event is because I don't think there's actually a direct route for this station. So I think if they want to get there, I think they have to go all the way around through into the building like that. But I think if I was to make potentially, I'm just going to place it down now and we'll see what ends up happening. I don't think they're going to take it right now because they've already made up their mind what public transport they're going to take. I was thinking something like this, but maybe not. It kind of ruins what we've got going on down there. Instead, see how we've got these, got these little tunnels? I think if we potentially use maybe one of these, drag him a bit closer, maybe one of them. Now these are for the metro, but because these are like a footbridge, I think we can actually connect it somehow. Maybe even just like an invisible path up there, and I think that would work. Let's see. Here's hoping. That's connected. Now, I don't know if that's going to work. We'll have to wait and see. It's probably not going to work, but I don't know. Let's just see if anything ends up happening with this. While we wait for people to use our subway, just check out all these motorists. Here they come. They've grabbed their cars. They're leaving, stuck in traffic. Should have caught some public transport. Definitely shouldn't have caught the bus because that is going to be an absolute wait and a half. But I'm going to call that a bit of a win. I think that it's held up pretty well. I think most people are using public transport, which is great. And we're not getting like a crazy amount of traffic in these areas, which is what I was really worried about. I wanted I didn't really mind a huge amount of traffic around here because I feel like that's kind of realistic. But these sort of areas, that could cause some serious problems. Whereas this area, it's only causing problems for the people who are visiting these stadiums, and they're just the tourists. They'll survive. And guys, check it out. People are using our walkway. I'm so happy about that. I'm also really surprised that they work. I've not said this before, but I'm very surprised at the way that people find routes in this game. It's pretty cool. So people are using it. I think that they're going to use it way more when an event happens rather than catching the bus, because I think that's slightly more of a direct route. Well, if not, pretty similar route to catching the bus. But you know what? I think that pretty much does it for this episode. If you've got some name suggestions for our stadiums, let me know in the comments below, or you can hit up our Discord. We've got some channels dedicated to building up all these stories within Oceania and all those other series that I've got going on. Go and hit them up over there. Love your suggestions. Want to give a special shout outs to some of the people supporting the channel on Patreon: Samuel Breton, Peter Gleason, Rachel Bergeland, Shay Stanton, Laura Ashton, Keith Hoffman, Chris Jones, Andrew May, AAA, Justin Alonso, and Nami Khan. Guys, thank you all so much for your support. Very much appreciated. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye.